We are waiting for the Cuban anthem. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our program, I would like to call on Reverend Likis Namutewa, the Executive Secretary of ELSIN, to open our launch with a prayer.
Director of Proceedings, thank you very much for the chance. Sisters and brothers, good morning. I'm Reverend Likius Nambili Namutewa, the Executive Secretary of the Western Diocese of ELSIN. I'm very much honored to open this occasion with a prayer this morning. Let me just read some verses from the Bible, taken from Psalm 27, 3 verses from the beginning. Psalm 27, 3 verses from the beginning, reads as follows. When of David, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? When evil men advance against me to devour my flesh, when my enemies and my foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then will I be confident. Amen. Our Creator, the Heavenly Father, created us in His own image. He created us to be free on this earth. He created us to live happily wherever we are. We are here, sisters and brothers, because of our brothers and sisters in Cuba. We all know how is the situation in Cuba. We, the Namibians, we know how the Cuban people contributed during the struggle for the liberation of our country. they decided if the Namibians are suffering, we suffer with them. So sisters and brothers, we are here because of our friends in Cuba. If they are suffering, we have to suffer with them. So we are here to prepare our minds to help them. Let's be one. Let's be one. Let's have one mind. And let's pray our God that He is going to guide us. He's going to provide us with all what we need to help our sisters and brothers during this time of suffering. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this morning. Come and guide us. Give us all what we need. Prepare our minds so that we can help, so that we can work together to help our sisters and brothers in Cuba who are suffering. You created us in your own image. You didn't create us to suffer on this earth, but you created us to be free wherever we are. Come and guide us. Be with our sisters and brothers everywhere. Bless this occasion. We pray all this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Thank you very much for that befitting message, or should I call it a revolutionary message. Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Sarah Kuwongelo Amadila, Honorable Chairperson of the National Council, Lucas Muha, Honorable Members of Parliament and representatives of government, Your Excellencies, Ambassador Magali Gonzalez of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Ambassador Dmitry Lobach, Ambassador of the Russian Federation, Ambassador Pedro Mutindi, Ambassador of the Republic of Angola, Your Excellency, the Ambassador of the Republic of Cuba, friends of the Namibian Solidarity Committee in support of the Cuban people, Honorable Nahas Angula, former Member of Parliament, our former Prime Minister and Chairperson of the Sam Nujoma Foundation, and other trustees of the foundation, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you all to this launch of Namibians in Solidarity with the People of Cuba Campaign. Just a few housekeeping rules. We are intending to keep this program really short and tight. I know we are all fired up and we're in a revolutionary spirit, but can we please keep our speeches a little bit short? We are intending to conclude this program hopefully by 11:15 this morning. Now, for our welcoming remarks, I would like to call on Mr. Vedera Bob Kandetu, the chairperson of the steering committee. Mr. Kandetu.
Good morning. Both our reverend as well as the director of the program did a very good job in both setting the stage for this meeting, but also welcoming all of you. And I shall stand by the protocol that was established in the interest of time. Words are indeed inadequate for me to express the emotions that fill my heart for standing in this position. On a humorous note, Quincy Jones wrote some lyrics for Ingram. These are rock and roll pop music singers. And the lyrics goes, I've done my best, but I guess my best was not good enough. Here we are back where we were before. We back to being strangers. It's a long song, I'll sing it for you one other day. Just to set the context that we are back where we were before. Cuba, the people of Cuba did more than just sharing trenches with us. They gave their all. They gave their country to us. Everyone from the struggle, both South Africa, Namibia, Mozambique, who operate in Cuba, they will tell you they lived like it used to happen in the old African context, where every child was every parent's child. These are the people who today are going through the throes of an economic blockade that has reduced, or that is threatening to reduce, the lives of the Cubans to rubble, to just nothing. We therefore felt that we must encourage our sisters and brothers in Namibia that we sit up and reflect on what is it that we can do to make, no matter how small a contribution, to the struggle of the people of Cuba. And that is what brings us here today. We are here to mount a campaign that will enable us to raise resources, human material and I don't know what, that we can put together and send to the Cuban people, particularly with regard to medicine, education, particularly medicine, because we hear their hospitals are going through a whole lot. So this is really what brings us together here, and I regard us all who are gathered here as having become part of this campaign, and I can see us going from strength to strength in doing what we want to do here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vederak Kandetu, who's the chairperson of the steering committee for Namibians in solidarity with the people of Cuba, to give us a proper insight into the current situation in Cuba. Who else can give us a better insight than the people from Cuba themselves, and well represented by the Cuban ambassador in Namibia, His Excellency Sergio de la Uz. Can we please give him a round of applause as he comes to the stadium, to the podium.
Good morning. Thank you, Master of Ceremony. Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Ms. Sara Kurongera Amadila, honorable members of the Parliament and representative of government, Honorable Nahas Angula, former member of the Parliament and chairman of the Sam Nujoma Foundation, and other trustees of the foundation, my esteemed colleagues, ambassadors of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and Russian Federation, thank you for coming. Friends of the Namibian Solidarity Committee in support of the Cuban people, leaders and representatives of the Council of Churches of Namibia and all faith-based organizations, distinguished members of Namibia-Cuba Friendship Association, dear compatriots that are present here, good morning. Today we gather with a purpose that comes from the heart, from memory, and from the shared dignity among brotherly peoples. To all the organizers of this solidarity campaign, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to every person present here, to the civil society organizations of Namibia, to the Namibians who studied in Cuba, and to the brave fighters who stood shoulder to shoulder with Cuban soldiers in the struggle for the Namibian independence. I want to thank those who were involved in the genesis of this idea. We can call them Cubans that were born in Namibia by accident, whom we also consider Cuban patriots. Thanks to Comrade Helmut Angula for guiding this nice initiative. Cecilia Musile, and on her behalf, the member of the Namibia-Cuba Friendship Association. The Sam Nujoma Foundation and its chairman, Nahas Angula. The SWAPO Party, Comrade Bob Kondetu, Ambassador Claudia Grace Ushona, Vicky Toivo Yatoivo, and all those who have joined us, who taking up the legacy of the founding father Sam Nujoma and Comrade Amdimba Toivo Yatoivo, raise their voices to make this humanitarian idea a reality. This project comes to life in the year marking the centenary of the birth of our commander-in-chief, Fidel Castro Ruz, who taught us to love Africa, and especially Namibia. This campaign is also a tribute to his legacy and to the enduring brotherhood that our peoples and governments enjoy today. On April 16, 2026, in his speech commemorating another anniversary of the Playa Girón invasion, Cuban President, His Excellency Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez, called for a national and international movement of solidarity with Cuba. This campaign is a clear response to that call. Thank you, Namibia, once again. Our shared history is not just a chapter of the past. It's a living bond that continues to beat in every act of solidarity. Cuba is not only a friendly country, it is a brother that extended its shared and its hand when the Namibian people needed it most, that has shared and continues to share its knowledge, its medicine, its education, and above all, its commitment to justice. Many of you are witnesses to that legacy. You were trained in our classrooms, held in our hospitals, and together we fought a common ideal, the freedom. Today, that same spirit calls us together. Today is the sons and daughters of the land of the brave who respond to Cuba's call. Cuba shared the same trenches with Namibians in their struggle for independence. Cuban blood watered the freedom that you enjoy today. Today, Cuba shared its human resources and the effort of those who cooperate in this island, in this land, in this noble nation, is fronting a new battle, the battle for the prosperity of this land of the brave. I would like to ask a representation of the more than 150 Cubans that are working here in Namibia to stand up, please. The Cuban collaborators stand up and make a strong round of applause in gratitude to Namibia for this campaign that begins today. Thank you. We cannot ignore the difficult situation currently faced by the Cuban people. For more than 6 decades, we have endured an economic, financial, and commercial blockade imposed by the United States, which in recent years has intensified through additional measures adopted by successive US administrations, worsening limitations in access to essential resources and services. I would like to list some effects of a brutal US blockade to give an idea of the cruelty of this measure against a small island. The web of sanctions and laws that make up the blockade and the inclusion of Cuba on the spurious list of states that supposedly sponsor terrorism increase the country risk index and therefore hinders access to international markets, especially the US market, limits the entry of foreign investment due to the risk of sanctions, reduces exports and increases the cost of imports, limits imports of food, agricultural inputs, fertilizers, and machinery, obstructs the use of US dollars in international transactions, restricts operations with international banks for fear for sanctions, hinders access to credit, financing, or debt restructuring, increases the cost of agricultural production, causes shortage and prices increases of basic goods, hinders the acquisition of medicines, medical equipment, and health technology with US components, prohibits free trade with US components, limits access to technology and spare parts, hinders access to software, digital platforms, and equipment with US components, patents, delays industrial modernization and digitalization, has an extraterritorial effect because companies from third countries avoid doing business with Cuba for fear of sanctions, restricts travel by US citizens to the island and pressures European citizens not to travel, impacting one of the main sources of foreign currency. According to statistics systematically compiled by Cuban institutions, the accumulated losses from the blockade against our country are estimated to exceed $2 trillion of US dollars, 2 trillion, in a small economy like ours. Actually, it's added the current energy blockade imposed by the US administration with direct consequences for daily life, power outages, difficulties in health services, food production, water distribution, waste collection, and the general well-being of families. It is impossible to imagine that a country can survive without access to fuel for its most basic services and needs. Once again, our people demonstrate resilience and dignity to the world. These realities are not numbers or headlines. They are human lives, children, the elderly, workers, students, women, who endured with dignity amid great hardship. This is not a bombing campaign for now. We do not see planes attacking Cuba, not US soldiers descending by parachute, although it is not a secret that the current administration threatening such actions. Imperialism must know that we will confront them with the unwavering conviction that the war against the invader is a war for the entire people. We would never kneel before imperial power. US policy toward Cuba constitutes a silent genocide that the international community cannot ignore. The genocidal policy was declared just after the triumph of the Cuban Revolution, when in April 1960, Under Secretary of State Lester Mallory wrote an infamous memorandum that constitutes the origin and essence of the blockade, which reads, and I quote, "The majority of Cubans support Castro," referring to Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro. "The only foreseeable way to reduce his internal support is through dissension and dissatisfaction, arising from economic malaise and material difficulties. All possible means must be quickly used to weaken the economic life of Cuba, a course of action which, being as skillful and discreet as possible, achieve the greatest advantage in depriving Cuba of money and supplies, reducing its financial resources and real wages, and provoking hunger, desperation, and the overthrow of the government." And I end quote. To this ongoing aggression is added another battle, that of digital platforms, where algorithms flood social media with false news, manipulated surveys, and the expressed desires of the most extreme voices of the White House. Let it be known that Cuba has always been willing to engage in dialogue with the United States, but without conditions. Dialogue on equals. Neither Cuba's policy system nor its leadership are subject of negotiation. I would also like to thank the Namibian media and their digital platforms for giving us the opportunity to share the reality of Cuba and the strong bonds of brotherhood that unite our two countries. This fundraising campaign is not merely an economy gesture. It is an expression of gratitude, memory, and reciprocity. It is a way of saying to the Cuban people, you are not alone. Just as you stood with us, Namibians stand with you today. We deeply thank every organization, every volunteer, and every donor who makes this initiative possible. Your generosity shows that solidarity knows no borders, and that bonds built through sacrifice and hope never break. Let us move forward with these convictions that together we can make a difference, that the history we share compels us to act with humanity and commitment. May this effort serve as another bridge between our peoples, a symbol of unity, and a reaffirmation that solidarity remains our greatest strength. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think the ambassador deserves a better round of applause. The ambassador mentioned the fact that the Cuban blood waters Namibian freedom. And to put that into context, I would like to call on the chairperson of the Sam Nujoma Foundation, Comrade Naz Angula, to come and please talk to us about the role of the Sam Nujoma Foundation and also specifically about the blood pact between Namibia and Cuba. Please, let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Director of our program this morning. Good morning, comrades. Thank you for being here this morning. Committee Chairperson, allow me to stand on the protocol as you kindly directed us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and a privilege for me to have been invited to the launch of the Namibians in solidarity with the People of Cuba Campaign. As we know all, Namibia is a child of solidarity, and many people stood with us during our hour of need. And Cuba was the foremost one. Hence, as a child of solidarity, Namibia is duty-bound to stand with the people of Cuba in their hour of need. In this regard, Cuba is currently facing a man-made humanitarian crisis. This year's intensified oil blockade compounds a 68 years long embargo initiated in 1962 that has systematically weakened our long-standing ally. Reports indicate an imminent energy emergency driven by Washington's punitive strategies against this socialist nation. The newly announced tariffs framework targeting Cuba's oil supplies, combined with a national emergency declaration, constitute a direct assault on Cuba with far-reaching implications for trade, diplomacy, and regional stability. Against this background, the Sam Nujoma Foundation expresses its profound concern over the escalating, silent, and genocidal sanctions imposed by the United States of America on the Republic of Cuba. These coercive measures undermine Cuba's sovereignty and pose an existential threat to the nation's survival. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned of a potential humanitarian collapse if Cuba's energy needs remained unmet. The suffocating measures have already begun crippling the Cuban economy. This is a crisis we cannot observe in silence. The embargo can no longer be described as so-called sovereign or bilateral. Companies and nations engaging in legitimate trade with Cuba face punitive fines and exclusion from global financial systems due to American dominance and disregard for multilateral agreements endorsed by the United Nations Security Council. This is not an abstract policy debate. Hospitals are running out of fuel, medical supplies are delayed, and ordinary citizens bear the daily burden of these inhumane measures. We therefore call for accountability justice, and fairness. We demand equal treatment among nations. Inaction in the face of such aggression sets a dangerous precedent for the entire international community. Justice delayed is just denied, and justice cannot wait. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I urge all peace-loving Namibians to strongly support this campaign in order to help our brothers and sisters in the Republic of Cuba, just as they did during our most difficult era before independence. Viva the Republic of Cuba, viva the revolutionary spirit of Fidel Castro, viva the people of Cuba. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Naha Sangula, for that message. There are a few people whose presence I would like to acknowledge before we continue. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Ms. Christine Cuevas. She's the special advisor in the presidency. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Ms. Vicky Erensinya-Cuevo. She's sitting in the audience with us. And General Martin Shali, sitting in the audience with us. Ms. Joan Guriras, Ambassador Mvula. I'll mention, as I see you, I'll mention the names of people I would like to acknowledge. I really, when I was speaking to Vedera about today's event, he said, we need to keep it informal, and it should be, the spirit should be a little bit revolutionary. But we can't hear people sounding very revolutionary today. Viva the people of Cuba, viva! Viva! Viva the people of Cuba, viva! Viva! Viva Fidel Castro, viva! Viva! Thank you, thank you. Our following speaker does not know that we were going to ask her to speak, so this is a bit of an ambush, but we cannot have her present and not say anything, although she's not formally on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call on our speaker, Honorable Sarah Gogogela Madila, to come and say a few things, please. Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Director of Proceedings. May you please all take your seat. I recognize the leadership of the Namibia-Cuba Friendship Association and His Excellency the Ambassador of Cuba and all the Cubans that are here. I note also the Ambassador of Venezuela, the Ambassador of Russia, and all the ambassadors of friendly countries that are here. And these are the countries that, together with Cuba, were supporting the struggle for our liberation. So for those of us that grew up in the struggle, it's always a very emotional experience for us to witness gatherings such as this. That is why I decided to attend, although I had another engagement that is competing with this one. But I called my deputy, and he agreed to stand in for me if I arrived there late, so that I can be here and be part of as much of the program's activities as possible. Yes, distinguished friends of Namibia and Cuba, I can comfortably say, without any fear of contradiction, that Cuba is the international manifestation of resilience. If you want to know what resilience looks like, just look at Cuba. For many years, that country has endured the harshest blockade, but has remained steadfast in safeguarding its sovereignty and defending its independence. It is said that a friend in need is a friend indeed. Cuba has always stood with the oppressed people globally during their darkest hours, supporting the liberation struggles at hefty costs to itself, including the cost of the precious lives of the young people of Cuba, who fought alongside the many liberation movements that fought for independence of countries in Africa and elsewhere around the world. And that is the freedom that we enjoy today. And I always say that it's the most befitting way to appreciate the support of Cuba is to make sure that we teach our children about what Cuba has been to us. And I like to tell this short story, you know, whenever I have an opportunity. When President Fidel Castro died, you know, my children went to a private school, and there they were not really taught as much of our history as their counterparts who go to government schools. So when President Fidel Castro died, now Namibia was honoring him, and they was having this program on NBC. And whenever there was nothing broadcasted, there was just a portrait of Fidel that covered the whole screen. So now my daughter, who was at primary school, walked into the sitting room when that portrait was there. And she said to me, "Mommy, who is that?" So she didn't know who Fidel was. There was just the portrait and the name Fidel. And she said, "Who is that?" So I said, "That's Fidel." And then she said, "Who is Fidel?" And I said, "Okay, sit down, let me explain." Just for 5 minutes. No, I explained to this little girl, and when I came back from work in the evening, I found her wearing a T-shirt that was given to me by the ambassador of Cuba that said, "I am Fidel." So it means that 5-minute conversation that I had with that little girl made such a profound impact. And that speaks to the significance of Cuba's support to our struggle, that even a little girl at primary school can understand it and see the need to wear that T-shirt that says, "I am Fidel." But it also says something, you know, because she could have chosen anything else. She chose a T-shirt that says, "I am Fidel." And what that means is that that spirit of Fidel, that spirit of Cuba, can never be killed. By no blockade, nothing can kill it. So Fidel himself can go silent, but his idea would never die. It would never be blocked by blockades, not by borders, not by generations. It would live forever. And that, I think, is the most comforting thing for many of us that grew up in the struggle and knew. And we were told, when I arrived in the SWAPO camp in Angola, and I was 12 years old, the first orientation you get is, this place is called so-so-so. To the west, there may be UNITA. To that side is Namibia. If the camp is bombed, don't go there. You may end up in Namibia. If you need support, the Cubans are there. So if there is no food, we expect the Cubans to share. If there is no medications, we expect the Cubans to share. And when we came back to Namibia, after they supported our struggle, they were here sharing their expertise through the volunteer doctors who have been here. I don't think words would be enough. So Cuba is therefore one of the brightest examples of solidarity. True solidarity and enduring solidarity. A true friend who is always there at the most difficult time. When our innocent civilians were massacred at Kasinga, Cuban fighters were there to help stop that carnage. God alone knows what could have happened if those Cubans were not there. And they paid hefty prices, actually, to stop that carnage. At Quito Cuanaval, Cuban fighters fighting alongside FAPLA of Angola and Plan fighters helped Angola to repel the aggression of its country by apartheid South African troops, and it helped SWAPO to get South African colonial government to finally agree to the ceasefire that opened the way to elections that led to freedom and independence that we enjoy today. And maybe I should say also that that was possible mainly because of the support that we were getting, the military support, from countries like the Soviet Union, you know? Because I have another story, you know, when Russia started, when the conflict between Russia and Ukraine started, a family member of mine who was not very politically conscious said, I now, what is Russia doing? So now I say, sit down here, let me explain to you. To explain who Russia is, what Russia has been to Namibia. And after that, she said, oh, oh, I now understand. Now when I come back from work, she's also watching CNN and she's telling me what happens to the Russians. So it is also always emotional to see the ambassador of Russia here, because without that support, all this resilience of Cuba and this freedom of Namibia, and Angola, and Venezuela, and all the oppressed people, I think we will be in a situation of Palestine today if Soviet Union was not what it has been to African countries and other countries around the world that were fighting for their freedom. So thank you very much, Comrade Ambassador. Cuba has extended its support to oppressed and needy people around the globe without asking for anything in return and without any preconditions. They never say, you are not to the West, we are not supporting you, or we want this and that you have. No, they just give you the support that they can provide. This was the case when it sent its soldiers to support efforts to countries around the world to gain freedom and protect their sovereignties, and when it shared its expertise through deployment of volunteers in different countries. This greater support and solidarity of Cuba has created an unbreakable bond between Cuba and peace-loving people, including in the countries that are imposing the blockade against Cuba. There are individuals who are supportive of Cuba, that no propaganda or blockade, as I've indicated, can break. In Namibia, we are united across political parties. If you watch the Namibian parliament, we disagree on almost everything. Even if you say, let's break for 15 minutes, it's a quarrel. You know, we struggle to agree to break for 15 minutes. But when it comes to Cuba, we have a friendship association that has representation from all political parties. So when it's Cuba, we agree. When it's other things, we have to convince each other for weeks sometimes. And we are hoping that our association will soon become operational, because they are very eager to be part of this effort to support Cuba and advocate for the end of the blockade against Cuba. As was mentioned earlier, the impact of that blockade has reached proportions that can generate mass losses of lives, that can actually have genocidal impact. But in addition to that, it actually also undermines the sovereignty of all countries around the world. Because now we are told by somebody, we cannot trade with this country, because somebody who is powerful doesn't like that country. So it's a violation of international law. It's a violation of the sovereignties of all countries around the world. And for those reasons, we are justified to join efforts to call for the end of that blockade, because it does not only generate mass suffering to the people of Cuba and violate international law, it also violates our own sovereignty. So I'm here as Sarah Kuongerwa Madira to support this cause. I'm here as the Speaker of the National Assembly of Namibia to support these efforts. And I'm here as a Namibian and a child that grew up in exile and a benefactor of the support of Cuba. And someone who subscribes to international solidarity like Cuba, to call for an end to the blockade against Cuba and also to mobilize support to the people of Cuba so that we can mitigate the suffering that they are going through. Thank you very much for this opportunity. If I could sing, I would have sung Guantanamela. Maybe somebody can.
There is a prize. At the end, you will have.
Oh, I hear.
Thank you very much. Great to have he's here. Please give him a round of applause. Please be seated. Thank you very much. Comrade Kangurohi, Angula, I think the stage is ready for you now. The spirit is up. So, ladies and gentlemen, for our keynote speaker and the pillar of this initiative, Comrade Kangurohi Angula.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that warm welcome. I stand before you this morning deeply moved and equally encouraged by the unity of purpose reflected in this gathering. Honorable Chairperson of the National Assembly, Honorable Nas Angula, Chairman of the Sam Nujoma Foundation, Honorable, Your Excellency, Ambassador de la Uz of the Republic of Cuba, Excellencies, Ambassadors of the Russian Federation and of Venezuela, any other diplomat who is present here, Auntie Guridas, it has been a long. It's nice seeing you. Yes, I want to stand by the protocol earlier established. I'm moved, deeply moved. General Shali, I don't know what you are thinking about. I see you smile and you don't smile. Ambassador Grace, I don't know what's cooking in your mind. I wish we had time that some of you comrades could share words of two. But thank you all for responding to this call. Is Comrade Huebes in? I was. Oh, compliment of the season. I missed you a lot. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence, and all other high officers and officials here. Thank you very much indeed. The speakers who have preceded me have reminded us of two profound realities. Firstly, the depth of the challenge currently faced by the people of Cuba. And secondly, the depth of the relationship that binds Namibia and Cuba together. These are not abstract realities. They are lived truth, rooted in history, sacrifice, and shared struggle. Ours is not a relationship of convenience. It is a relationship forged in struggle, sealed in sacrifice, and sustained through principle. When we speak of Cuba, we must recall not only words of solidarity, but action of consequences. We recall the 1970s and 80s when Cuban internationalist forces stood alongside the people of Southern Africa in the struggle against colonialism and apartheid. Comrade Sangula, you recall those battles of Kafindongo, what they call it. When FNLA and the Zairian troops were barely 36 kilometers from Rwanda. The battles of Nova Redondo, when South Africans were barely 60 kilometers from Rwanda, only blocked by Kwanza River, pending the arrival of the first Cuban contingents. I shivered when the Honorable Speaker mentioned the fact that we might have been another Palestine, because the aim and objective was to install in Luanda a puppet regime and expel all freedom fighters, ANC of South Africa, SWAP of Namibia, ZAPU, or ZANU, all of them from Angolan soil. And South Africa would have declared immediately Namibia the fifth province without any hindrances. Comrade Ambassador Lobahu, I don't know, where were you in that year, 1705, when the Antonovs started to land in the airport of Luanda. And the battles of Nova Redondo could have gone the other way if those equipment and material did not land in Luanda timeously. The PLA government had only the airport of Luanda. The entire country was either under the Zairians or under the South Africans' occupation. Thanks, Luanda was secured, and the battle or the tide turned against the enemy. We recall the decisive turning point at the Battle of Cuito-Cuanavalle in 1987-1998, where Cuban forces, but here please let me make correction, Angolan forces in the first place. Angolans fielded 35,000 men in that theater. Other people mentioned here, maybe 1,000, 2,000. And of course, Angolans sacrificed enormously in human and material. That was decisive, of course, moment. And the battlefield shifted. And it shifted the course of history. And a lot of us read only about the battle and think only about the battle as being decisive. Actually, there was something much enormous that the South Africans and its backers were avoiding. Cuban forces and plan assembled a big force. And the decision was taken to cut off South Africa from Cuba. That force stretched all the way from Kalweke to Kafima, far east of Ukwanyama. And the aim and objective was to cut off Katwiti, the main supply line, and attack and occupy Oshakati on Dangma. The air force of apartheid was neutralized by the Cuban air superiority at Kahama. They couldn't fly and support their forces. So the result was they either have to continue at Cuitaquanaval or leave these forces or their force naked, isolated, with no prospect of returning soon or having a supply. But that's not the main decisive factor, although it's a factor. The thing, what happened was, when the South Africans withdrew from Cuitaquanaval, the crisis erupted in South African ruling class. The so-called Verkrampte, or right-wingers, under Botha, became toothless. And the so-called enlightened of the National Party under de Klerk, a rule of Botha, and others, took the initiative. That's when the decision was made to settle finally Resolution 435. That was the dismantling of apartheid started there when the Verkrampte lost control of the South African politics. Thanks, of course, in large measure, to the outcome of the Battle of Cuitaquanaval, but mainly to the threat posed by the impending invasion, inevitable invasion of Namibia. These created the conditions for Namibia's independence. It accelerated the dismantling of apartheid. It affirmed that solidarity, when acted upon, can change the destiny of nations. Beyond the battlefield, Cuba extended its solidarity in quieter but equally profound ways through education, through medical support, through cultural exchange. Cuban teachers, doctors, and specialists contributed to the building of a newly independent nation. Today, the people of Cuba face significant hardship. Reverend Namtewa described in short but very sweet words. For over 6 decades, they have endured the impact of an economic, commercial, and financial blockade, one that has constrained access to essential goods, medicine, and opportunities for development. In recent times, these pressures have intensified, affecting daily life in ways that are difficult for many of us to fully comprehend. We cannot be indifferent to this reality, because to be indifferent would be to forget. And to forget would be to deny the very principle upon which our own freedom was built. It is within this context that this campaign has been established. This is not merely an initiative, it is a response grounded in memory, in gratitude, and in responsibility. It is a platform through which Namibians across all sectors can translate solidarity into action. I'm very happy to see many old friends and new friends being on board. Dr. Shangula, welcome on board. Ambassador Shinyenge, let's do something. We are a child of international solidarity. So when we do this, we are not do this in expectation of something somewhere, reward of any kind. We do this because we experienced this thing deeply. My senior brother there, Angula, we schooled in secondary school in Zambia. We were very young. He was looked after by a Shona old lady, a Shona from Rhodesia. Yes. I was given into a family of Tonga tribe in southern Zambia. Yes, that's where I matured. Coincidentally, Tonga is like Ndonga. Yeah, we speak similarity almost. We have a way of living almost. They had cattle and look after, and they plow field with maize and sorghum. So that time I didn't miss home very much because I was at home with the Tonga. This experience of people who don't know you, and they take you from the school, and they say, yes, you can be our child. And when we see other people in suffering, when the first 601 illegally boarding the plane arrived in Cuba, I will not mention name. But you know the name. Who boarded the plane illegally, passing the borders. And you look at those children, and you looked. I was called to inspect the school that was offered. Cuban children were evacuated to give way to Namibian children. Looking back, it is a platform through which Namibians across all sectors can translate solidarity into action. We are a small country, 2.7 million, and since we like to exaggerate too much, we say we are now 3 million. Even if given we are 3 million, only 870 are able bodies, people who may receive social benefit in cash or otherwise, or salaries. The rest are either children, babies, or children at schools, or drunkards or prisoners, and others. So our contribution can only come from 800, of course, out of 870,000. If we can get even $1 from each of the 500,000 or 300,000, plus the business fraternity who are here and who are not here, whom we shall communicate with and write to make their modest contribution, we shall make a difference. We want to thank our government, the executive and the legislature, for joining us, but for paving the way in expressing true solidarity with the people of Cuba in concrete terms. I hope the day will not be long before the government of Southern Africa can come together. And tomorrow, with the non-governmental organizations, there's nothing that can or stand in our way to have a SADC platform in solidarity with the people of Cuba. Through this campaign, we seek to mobilize resources to provide targeted support and deliver practical intervention, mainly in the form of energy. You have heard of the hospital and schools without energy. So, in our modest way for now to start with, our funds should be dedicated to energy, supply of energy material and medication or medical equipment. This just in reality, if we can size ourselves according to our size. But beyond material, this campaign carries a deeper message that solidarity is not passive, that history demands reciprocity, and that Namibia remains a nation guided by principles. What gives this campaign its strength is collective nature of the gathering. I'm deeply touched by the presence of my good friend, Bishop Katenda, Brother Namtewa, and other faith leaders who are here. Please, the message must go. We have communicated to as many faith organizations as possible, and the response are very positive. We want to appeal for assistance. We want to appeal us from assistance. I saw my brother here from NW. Huh? Did I see him? Or I was just dreaming? Oh.
He was here, but I think he left.
Okay. Here today we are leaders from government, business, labor, faith-based organizations, academia, youth formations, and civil societies. This diversity is not incidental, it is essential, because the responsibility before us does not belong to one sector, it belongs to the nation. This is not a campaign for a few, it's a call to all. I therefore wish to make the three appeals. First, that we act not in sentiment, but in substance, that we contribute meaningfully, each according to our ability. Secondly, that we mobilize others within our institutions, our communities, almost I say our commune. Old habit die hard, doctor. And our networks, so that this campaign becomes truly national in character and reach. And thirdly, that we conduct this effort with discipline, integrity, and accountability, so that every contribution may translate into real impact for those in need. In reflecting on this moment, I am reminded that solidarity is not measured by what we say. It is measured by what we do. So, friends, comrades of the committee, the main committee, the steering committee, the work has started. Dialogue, we set it aside. Personal greetings, set it aside. Now is to talk to every Namibian child, elder, older, including the giraffes. Let's talk to them. Recruit them. Spare 1, 2, 3 minutes. The speaker could spare 5 minutes. Maybe that's too much for many. But 1, 2, 3 to explain the purpose of the campaign, the reality of the situation of these people who are facing genocide. We should not leave it to the future generation to start demanding reparation like we do today. We should just prevent it. It is, therefore, on my side to remind all of us that we keep this solidarity alive. And we are having time frame. We don't want to extend for a year or 6 months. No. Time frame, 2 months. If we fail, okay. If we can't make it, 3, 4 months, not more. The logistic is challenging. There are many questions. How and why we will not assemble anything that we come along that might be required. The problem is the logistic part. We want to select as few things as target as possible because it's challenging. As you know, embargo is embargo. It's not going to be easy, but it has never been easy to support freedom fighters either. Okay? Distinguished guest, in closing, history has a way of returning to us, not to test our memory, but to test our character. Today, therefore, we are presented with such a moment. Let it be said that when the time came for Namibia to stand in solidarity, we did so not with hesitation, but with conviction. Not with words alone, but with action. I thank you. I'm sorry, Chair. Oh. No, I leave the announcement for some details, such as where we have a form somewhere to fill, and what our bankings are, and the committee members who are here to be, how do you call it, acknowledged or to be raised. Yeah, but I leave it to the chairperson of the steering committee. So, chairperson.
Thank you very much. I shall call one of my colleagues to come and deal with some of these things because they are managing these things, so that at least also everybody can get to know how diverse our operations are. Where's Vicky? Vicky, come here. Is she gone? Oh yeah, Vicky. Yes, please. Yeah, just come to the front and talk, man. You don't want to talk, Paul? Lawyers like talking, that much I know. Whatever you can say.
Yes, thank you. You have a form here. Count me in, count us in, fill it out, and give it to us. And we'll contact you. You can donate money, you can pledge money, but we need your active participation in the campaign. You also have a brochure and some other things on your chair, but please fill out this form and give it to us, and we'll get back in touch with you.
Thank you very much. Yes. As we go along, the most important thing is that we know where we can reach one another. As we go along, we will open up and keep exchanging views. Some of the people who are calling us are saying, man, muteka BS brang of what would mark, or what. All these things we'll find a way of getting them such that we translate them into what we can channel to Havana. My leader was saying here that a blockade is not easy to break in. We want to use existing channels to get there. We have possibilities. And many of them are international, regional also. We have the possibility of Angola. I'm not saying that we have opened up those conduits. I'm saying there is a possibility. TAG is the national airline of Angola. It has the passenger but also the cargo possibilities. If we want to send, if we get to a point where we think now we are ready to send material, cattle on the hoof, or meat and this, so we can see how we cooperate with TAG. We are talking to sisters and brothers in the Southern African region. For example, one brother was here from South Africa. He shared with us what they are doing and how they want to do these things. We want to do these things as realistically as humanly possible, but to also avoid unnecessary conflicts that will tie us down from what we are doing. So we shall keep going, keep coming back, but the most important thing is that those of us who are committing ourselves to this, we must share our personal details, not bank account necessarily how much you have, but just to make sure that we can reach you. Finally, two brothers whom I want to cite. One is a guy called Denzel Washington. He said, ease, to have it easy, is the greatest threat to progress than hardship. Very critical. Another one is a brother called James Baldwin. He said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. That's where we are, isn't it? The most important thing is that we must be brave and be committed and be prepared to listen, because that's the only way we can be listened to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We've come to, is there one more announcement?
Yes.
The committee member.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about.
Oh, you are about to call them.
I was about, yeah,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The members of the committees who are here, they must come to the front. In making sure that this work go on as smoothly as possible, the main committee called the preparatory committee. We set up a broad committee by name Namibians in Solidarity with the People of Cuba. When we met, we decided to set up a steering committee. That is the committee that will carry it out there. The committee, in the steering committee, we decided to break it up in 4 subcommittees, at least for a start. This would be information and public relations. Another one will be mobilization and outreach. Another one will be fundraising. Another one will be logistics and finance. Just to try to make sure that we account for, as my brother was saying correctly, that whatever we do, we must do it with integrity and utmost accountability. We want to make sure that if there is a mistake, it is human error, not intentional. And this is why we are trying to pull together. All the members of the committee, please come to the front. Huh? Yeah, they're here already. Okay, now, I did not want anyone to think, they just called 5 people who are contact people. These are the committees, but only the contact person, either coordinator, one person for each committee, subcommittee that is, and any other committee that we are setting up along the way. We start with Umbi.
Start with? Thank you everyone for being here. We are so happy. I am from the Information and PR Committee, and my message to Namibians today is that we have to stand up for the people who stood up for us. And we cannot just, those people, they had names. The Cubans, they came to fight for us. And as I was telling the speaker this morning, that I experienced the support of the Cuban in real time. Because that time, I was pregnant with my son, Rico Toka, and because I am someone who really loved history, I was telling my sister Pera that they are near, they are going to relieve us from the suffering that we are suffering in this country of South African apartheid. And she said to me, Umbi, I can actually give your child a name that will make your wish be realized. And she said to me, Enaromashiwe, the name of your child is Rico Toka Koveni. That child's name is, the country will come back to its rightful owners. And the Cuban people, they made it possible because at that time we were so fearful and we were waiting for Resolution 435. And you won't believe it. That was in 1987. And then when my child was born in 1988, it became a reality. And I want to say thank you to the Cuban people, because I felt it myself, and that's why today I'm here. And I want to give back. I want to stand up for those people who died for us, because they died, they gave their lives. Today we are just asking, give something to relieve the people of Cuba. Those are people with names, with family, with children and grandchildren today. They didn't have that privilege to enjoy their family. Let's stand up for the people who stood up for us. Thank you very much.
That was a tie-up for everyone who's standing in front for us here. what we are going to hear is the members of the coordinators of the different groups, just for them to be known. I think we'll start with you.
Thank you very much. And I observe the protocol is already established. My name is Kamisha Rura, and I'm the coordinator for the mobilization and outreach subcommittee. There are also some members of my committee here, and we will be reaching out to you to mobilize you so that when we come to you, at least you know what our purpose is. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was the mobilization and outreach, information and public relations. We shall hear from fundraising.
Hello, I'm Lucy Edwards-Yao, and I am coordinating the fundraising committee. At the end of the day, that's what it's really going to come down to, how much funds we can raise. The success of this campaign is determined by the amount of money we can get together. So we desperately need people who will be able to assist us in fundraising. If there are people with time on their hands, pensioners like myself, please contact me and we will find a space for you, because at the end of the day, we will only measure our success by the amount of funds we can raise. Thank you very much.
Okay, the three subcommittees, we heard from them. The logistics and finance management committee, subcommittee is not here. The coordinator is not here, Mr. Jeremy Klute. He couldn't make it here. In that stead, I'll put on my brother here, who's the member of the committee, and he wants to say something about the Cuban Friendship Association.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, and I stand by the protocol observed. My name is Rafael Ramirez, and I'm currently the president of the Association of Cubans residing here in Namibia. And I would like to say something very brief, and is the eternal appreciation and gratitude from us Cubans. And on behalf of my Cuban people, I would say thank you for this wonderful initiative that will bring some light in the middle of the darkness that we are currently facing on our country. So thank you, Cecilia, for always being together with us, always promoting the Cuban community and the Cuban friendship between Namibia and us in Cuba, always being there. And thank you all, and thank you, Namibia, for opening the arms and welcoming us Cubans here in your country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we take our seats, please, so we can proceed with the program? Thank you very, very much. Yeah. I give them the podium back to the substantive owner.
As we are concluding, I will ask the colleagues, the technical colleagues, to get the anthems ready, so that people don't wait for 5 minutes before they start singing. Okay. I have an uncle here. I did not acknowledge. I call him my communist uncle. If I don't acknowledge him, he will harass me. Our ambassador Kayamo is here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the official end of our program this morning. Thank you so much for your patience, and thank you very, very much for your participation, and most importantly, thank you very much for being here. Let this not be an event but a process to help the people of Cuba, because they were there for us. I would like to call now on Ms. Cecilia Muzile. She's going to do the final vote of thanks, and and then after that we'll rise for the anthems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director of Proceedings. I know you want to be given a ticket by the traffic officials because we are overspeeding now. Yeah, before I gave the vote of thanks, allow me to read to you a message from Cuba Solidarity Now, our brothers and sisters from South Africa, who are also doing the same campaign as we are. And the message reads as follows. Congratulations to the people of Namibia. I think they are following because they have a link. Cuba Solidarity Now is a national and international platform that seeks to build sustainable solidarity with the people of Cuba. It was established as a global platform as a direct result of the extreme threats facing the Cuban people in Cuba. We congratulate the people of Namibia, the government of the Republic of Namibia, for being the first on the continent of Africa to combine as one in support of Cuba. Namibians have made history through this demonstration of strategic leadership. Namibians are showing Africa and the world the authentic meaning of solidarity with Cuba. Long live Namibia, long live Cuba, la lucha continua. This message is from Professor Brian Williams, the chairperson of Cuba Solidarity Now, South Africa. So they are following and they are impressed with Namibia. You can hear from the message. Now is the vote of thanks. The Director of Proceedings, the chairperson of this committee, has acknowledged everybody present, and I'm standing on the protocol already said. I'm just going straight to the message. On behalf of Namibia-Cuba Friendship Association, and on behalf of the organizers of these committees, I wish to extend our deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for invaluable presence and support in making this event a resounding success. We heard from the previous speakers that they are impressed with the attendance. A special thank you to the Cuban ambassador for your presence and support that symbolize the enduring friendship between Namibia and Cuba. Our appreciation goes to the ambassadors of the Bolivian people of Venezuela, the ambassador of the Russian Federation, for your solidarity and unwavering support. We also thank Reverend Likius Nambili Namtewa for opening this gathering with a powerful word of God and prayer, setting a spiritual tone for our cause. Our heartfelt thanks to NIPAM for providing the venue, and to our talented musician whose performance enriched the event. We also appreciate the Director of Proceeding for guiding us through the program. To the Speaker of the National Assembly, we have no words because you took us back to our yesteryear when we were young during the liberation struggle. Like some of us, we are the survivor of the Kasinga massacre. And when the speaker was speaking, our memory went back, and the flashes were so strong, maybe because we are approaching the date. To our chairperson of the organizing committee and the dedicated team, we should thank you for the tireless effort in coordinating this important campaign. To the chairperson of Sam Nujoma Foundation, we thank you for your inspiring leadership and your presence. We are grateful to the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation for the live coverage and the live streaming. Evidence, we have it here when we receive the message now from South Africa that they are following, thanks to NBC. Because you enable many beyond this hall to witness and join our solidarity. To other media houses and online viewers, thank you for your interest and support in amplifying our message. To everyone present here and those who could not be with us but are supporting from afar, your participation and solidarity are what make this campaign meaningful. Thank you once more for your presence and commitment, your support, your unwavering solidarity with the people of Cuba. Together, we stand united in our shared vision of justice, peace, and solidarity. So we say, long live the Cuban people. Long live. Long live Namibia. Long live. And we used to say in Cuba, patria o muerte, venceremos. God bless you all.
I'm terribly sorry to keep doing this. After, when we finish, maybe I must say the leaders, I'm trying to avoid the word dignitaries. The speaker, is the speaker gone?
Yeah.
Okay. The chairman, those who know that they are leaders, you know yourselves, don't you? You pick there for a picture, ne? So that at least there's a history a bit on. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. We have somebody lost their diamonds.
The ambassador of Iran just
Ladies and gentlemen, I understand we are joined by the Iranian ambassador in Namibia. He just joined us. Welcome, Your Excellency. Thank you. Can we all rise for the anthem? please let us to make a few announcements before we close off officially. We have one important announcement that will be made by General Martin Shali, and then after that